ja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu, mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miniwe na kakitu, akisitoke bila kitu. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna build a home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you, and I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. Baby, usijali.
Yes. Welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is where you are. Yes, you're in the right place. If you think that you're not in the right place, you are. My name is George Kagwe, and I am a new member at the Goshen Acquisitions team. Yes, sir. That's what it is, man. At Grand Acres, I have joined the digital marketing team, to be precise and to be exact. Where are you joining from? Where are you? What you doing? What time it is? What time is it? Wherever you are, tuambie, tell us in the comment section right now. Thank you for sparing your time, your bundles, your Wi-Fi, for you to be able to just join our live today. Indeed, it's going to be a great conversation. And for that to happen, we want to be able just to welcome someone who's not new to you guys, but is the guest today, as I'll be the one navigating this whole live session. So hit the comment section down below. Guess who it is? Guess who is coming through like the flu? So, and let us know where you're tuning in from. Thank you everyone who's just coming in from wherever you're watching, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Tafadhali, hit the comment section and let us know where you are joining from. So, ladies and gentlemen, drum rolls, please. A man who needs no introduction. He's the founder, Managing Director, CEO of Goshen Acquisitions and Grand Acres Limited, Mr. Solomon Wangwe. Solo.
VP Georgie.
What is good?
Oh, everything's good, man. I'm feeling good. Smelling fresh. You asked me earlier how I'm smelling and whatnot. I'm feeling good, man. I'm super excited. Your energy is awesome. Thank you for bringing that vibe, that energy, because it's the end of a super long day for me, and I need that boost.
Yeah, dude. As much as it was a super day, a super long day, you're looking, feeling, and smelling like $1 million. That's what it is.
Thank you.
That's off the shoulder. So Lord, thank you so much for joining in. These lives will be happening every Thursday, 7 p.m. You know what it is. We're here to just connect with our community in regards to our whole promise of ensuring that there's strategic, savvy, safe land investments for people who are in the country, and also for guys who are not, who are foreigners as well. So we'll be having some great conversations today. The topic of the day is very simple: 50 by 100s, to buy or not to buy. If you have an eighth, if you've bought a 50 by 100, put in the comment section where you bought it from. If it's from us, karibu sana. Thank you for trusting us with your investments, and hope you like your parcel as well. And so, Solo, we want to really tackle something that's huge. People have been commenting. People have been asking questions. They've been like, hey, Grand Acres started selling 50 by 100s, Tangulini, and it's triggered by this simple video. If you don't know what we're talking about, check this out.
So here's the thing. If you visited our website or had any interactions with us as Goshen Acquisitions, you will undoubtedly have noticed that we do not sell 50 by 100 plots. We never have, and if we have anything to do with that process, we never will.
So, Solo, that was the statement we made. That's what we said. We said what we said.
Yes.
Context to it. And we'd like to just set up the context. Tafadhali, take us back to that time. Today is Thursday, so throwback Thursday, throw it back like it's Thursday in regards to what was the context of the whole conversation in regards to us as Goshen Acquisitions and Grand Acres making that statement. There was a full video, but most people, that's all they got. So Tafadhali, help us to just set up the context in regards to 50 by 100s. What was the conversation? What was happening then?
Awesome. Okay, well, first let's start by defining what a 50 by 100 is. So that's a typical size of a plot. In Kenya, when you say I have a plot, or I'm selling a plot, buying a plot, plot is synonymous with 50 by 100. That's what it means to people. 50 by 100 is plot. A plot technically could be any size, could be an eighth of an acre, quarter acre, half an acre, 1 acre. But in Kenya, because of our investing culture, popular culture, whatever you want to call it, 50 by 100 equals plot. Now, 50 by 100, that dimension is in feet, right? It's 50 feet by 100 feet. That is the size of a 1/8 of an acre, right? So just to put that in context, because a lot of people, believe it or not, will confuse an eighth an acre with a quarter of an acre. So 50 by 100 is an eighth of an acre. You take an acre, chop it up into 8 pieces, or divide it 8 times, you get an eighth, which is a 50 by 100, which is a very specific dimension. It's a rectangular shape, but an eighth of an acre can take all manner of dimensions, right? And if you went to school and did mathematics, you understand that. And a quarter of an acre is 100 feet by 100 feet, so on and so forth.
Yes.
So hopefully we've established that and made sense of that for people. So that video you just showed, we shot in 2016, I believe, right? In fact, I think you might have been behind the camera when we shot that video.
Yes.
I mean, that's how long we've been doing content around safe land investment in Kenya, which is why it's so great that we're having this conversation with you, coming back full circle, now that you're part of the amazing team at Grand Acres and Goshen Acquisitions.
Yes.
You have context, right? And my comment specifically was in response to the issue of what sizes of land we sell, because a lot of people felt that they might not be able to afford what we were selling at the time, which I believe were half-acre blocks of land in Nanyuki, or 5-acre blocks of land in Imbuko, which is in southern Kajiado. And so a lot of people would ask us, why, man, I can't afford half an acre. Can't you give me like a 50 by 100? Me, I want a plot. I don't want half an acre. And so we did that video to explain why we do not do 50 by 100s.
Yes.
And that's 2016. That's what, 7 years ago. That's a long time ago. A lot has changed in the legal structures around fragmentation of land, especially after the 2010 constitution, promulgation of a new constitution. A lot of mechanical things have happened as they're supposed to. Once the new constitution was adopted, the various departments of government, ministries have to get on with the mechanics of making the new laws practical for people to engage with, which has been happening since. And 7 years is a long time, so a lot has happened, including the Physical Land Use and Planning Act, which is a law that regulates fragmentation of land and the processes, procedures, policies, the rules that one has to follow if you're going to divide or subdivide land in Kenya. If you're going to change its use, if you're going to determine a zoning. That was adopted in 2019. That's the latest law. The Physical Land Use and Planning Act 2019. If you're watching, curious about that, Google it for yourself, get familiar with it. If you're a serious investor in land in Kenya or property in general, you should not have to wait for a lawyer to tell you things or explain things to you. It's readily available. It's a constitution. It's your law. So do your homework, check it out for yourself. 2019 is 3 years after we did that video. So keeping that in mind, there's context to the comment I made. And at the time, in most parts of the country, it was actually illegal to subdivide land to smaller than an acre. Right? An acre is 8 times the size of a 50 by 100. Right? It was illegal to subdivide an acre of land in Kenya without changing use, because most land in Kenya happens to be agriculturally zoned, and the title deeds are freehold, meaning you have absolute ownership of the land forever, and you don't have to pay any taxes to the county or the national government while you own the land, right?
Mm. True.
So that comment was made in context because I believe at the time, there was this huge blow up of 50 by 100. Everyone in their show was selling 50 by 100s. Hence, our customers' request to also provide them 50 by 100s. And so that video was made in that context to respond. And we can talk a little bit more about that now and what it means for you who are interested in owning land in Kenya, or if you've bought land in Kenya since 2016 or since 2019. After the Physical Land Use and Planning Act was enacted in 2019, we can have conversations about what that means for you.
Yeah, for sure. I fully get what that means. So, Solomon, for anyone who's watching, maybe this is the first time, like, they're getting into such a conversation as we are right now. 50 by 100, eights, right? So you've talked about the change of law in 2019. So what does that mean? Does that mean before people were unregulated, there were lack of proper structures of regulation in regards to the subdivision of eights? And so that's why maybe there were a lot of many people like selling eights. And what was the problem with that? So were people selling eights where it doesn't make sense? That doesn't mean that there was someone in Oloitoktok, in the middle of Oloitoktok, subdividing eights and selling to people eights on freehold land basis, right? So was that the issue, and is that what we were really just talking in regards to our customers about, that it doesn't make sense to have eights and subdivisions of eights where we had our own property?
Yes, and yes. And that is great mansplaining, as they say, Georgie. Well, I mean, that's precisely why we did the video, right? So a lot of the 50 by 100s, and I know people don't like to talk about it, especially those of us who are in the business of selling land. We, unless your heart is in the right place, I would not want you to discuss this issue because it touches on very serious things, right? So 50 by 100s, let's put it in context. Let's say there's a 10-acre block of land somewhere within Kajiado County or Machakos County or Kakamega County, wherever. Kwale County, 10-acre block of land. Now, I want to sell that thing. Normally, let's use a selling price of, say, 1 million shillings per acre is the market rate at the time. I have a 10-acre block of land. I need to liquidate chap because I need to pay school fees, whatever. I want to go on vacation. I want to build a house somewhere else. I need the money to invest in a new business. Whatever your reason is, I decide I want to sell this 10-acre block of land, which means I'm eagerly expecting to collect 10 million shillings for it. Except it's very difficult to get enough people with 10 million shillings to tie up into one property at that time. So what tends to happen is people subdivide that piece of land, that 10-acre block of land would get chopped up into smaller pieces so that, in theory, I can sell 1 acre for 1 million. Therefore, basic laws of economics, supply and demand, distribution of cash. There's a lot more people with 1 million shillings to spend than there are who have 10 million shillings to spend at once. And this is part of the rationale that goes into subdividing of land, is to make it more available to the market. Now, if you're going to subdivide any piece of land legally, you're going to have to create access roads to provide clean, unencumbered or unblocked access to each new subdivision you've created. So if you're going to subdivide 10 acres, you're not going to end up with 10 1-acre blocks of land. Chances are, if you do it properly, you might end up with 9 plots of 1 acre, maybe 9 and then a half somewhere or a quarter left somewhere, right? Now that means if I'm still going to collect 10 million shillings, I have to increase the price of each new subdivision. I have to sell 9 plots to make. Now, you can do the math as you break that down further. If you chop them up into half acres, if you chop them up into quarters, and then you come all the way down to our famous 100 by 50, which is an eighth of an acre, you can do the math on how much density you're creating within that one block of land that one family owned. Now, all of a sudden, if I do 50 by 100s, assuming I give up 10% of the 10 acre for access roads and public utilities as is required by law, I have 9 acres times 8 is 72 new plots.
Yes.
So I've essentially created 72 new households within the
Yep.
same block of land where there was a single household.
Mm.
I'll bring the cost lower, but in general, you will pay more per acre than if you had bought it as a 10-acre block or as a
Yep.
1-acre block. I have increased the need for power consumption within that same piece of land.
Yes.
If 72 on that land, and each family, each household has 4 individuals, mom, dad, 2 kids, whatever. You can do the math. That's 72 times 4.
Yep.
You have
That's
all that
a-
power consumption required. You have water consumption required.
Yep.
You have access requirements or transportation. Where are all those people parking their cars? How are they passing across from each other? Where are all those children going to play safely? Right? And the most critical one for me, as far as I'm concerned, is where is all your rubbish from your toilet when you flush the toilet going? Where all the dirt from your sinks when you wash your dishes and when you take a shower, where is all that waste water going? Right? So hopefully I'm painting a holistic picture for you on what it takes. So if someone's going to subdivide a 10-acre block of land in the middle of Kajiado, somewhere near Oloitoktok, without changing its use, without getting land control board approvals, without providing infrastructure, then what on earth are you buying? And so this is what was happening. People were subdividing land unprocedurally because it's expedient for us to sell you a 50 by 100 than it is to sell 10 acres or 1 acres. I'll sell them faster because I've brought the price down to maybe 250K or 350K. I think most 50 by 100s in Kenya today are being sold for 299, 399 Apple.
Yeah,
you know,
remote ones like 150K around that pricing. Yeah,
150 even. I saw one for 120.
yeah.
We actually did an experiment at Goshen Acquisitions last year where we bought a 50 by 100 deep in the heart of Laikipia, somewhere near Segera, that some other company was selling. And we did this experiment just to show our staff in a practical sense what the market investors have to go through, right? So we bought the name of Goshen Acquisitions, a 50 by 100 from another company. And lo and behold, the title deed was freehold, zoned agricultural.
Yeah.
There was no utilities on the site. They had, I think they had graded some roads. The beacons were those flat pancake things that you have to hunt for after some time. There was no power, there was no water, there was nothing. And so, at the end of the day, a lot of this poor value, fragmentation, densification of land was happening. And that is a context in which we made that video just to address it, because there's a very specific way anyone has to follow when you're subdividing land. And depending on how small you're making the subdivisions, there are more and more requirements around accessibility, the infrastructure, and eventually even what sort of title deed you must have for each new subdivision you have.
Fantastic. If you're joining us, thank you so much for joining us, discussing 50 by 100s, 8ths, and 8th plot. And basically what's 1/8 plots. And so Solo, just to summarize like what you've just said. So number one, what has stood out for me, number one, is when you subdivide. So I have an acre and I subdivide it into 8 pieces, and not what I will get in regards to that 1 acre. The more subdivisions I do to my parcel of land, the more amenities I need to cater for in terms of roads, accessibility, in terms of sewerage, for example, in terms of also water, power. And so more amenities are needed in regards to that subdivision. So people need to demand better. And people need to demand more from the people who are selling them land, and from the money, the hard-earned cash, blood, sweat, and tears, umetoa pesa. Then you go and put it in a place where someone has not done it in the proper way, according to the law. And then when regimes change, things happen, your titles are revoked, we start crying. That's the conversation we're having today. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Tell us what issues have you faced in regards to eights? Do you prefer buying eights? What parcels of land do you prefer buying? And we'll be able to answer those questions. My name is George Kagwe, and with me is Solomon Wangwe. We are all from Goshen Acquisitions. So Lo, as we like to call him, that land guy, is the founder, managing director, and CEO at Goshen Acquisitions and sister company Grand Acres. And I'm George Kagwe in the digital marketing team here at Goshen Acquisitions. So send in your questions, tafadhali, and we'll be able to answer them. So just to highlight some few guys, Bantu Bear, thank you so much for watching from YouTube. We have Matimu Ignatius, also Lex the DJ. What's up, Lex? And thank you so much for tuning in, all from YouTube. Wherever you are in Facebook, LinkedIn, tafadhali, let us know what's crack-a-lacking wherever you are. So next thing is, so we have, for the first time in many years, decided to go into 50 by 100s to sell eights. And the promise we have is strategic, safe, savvy land investments. So the first project we've launched, for example, in regards to eights is in Olkekun in Naivasha. What are the things we can be able to let people know in regards to why we selected the locations we selected, the kind of, also in terms of, are they freehold, leasehold, the kind of type of land? What are the things that informed us, and why did we select that for our customers?
That's a great question, Georgie. Thanks for bringing that up. So just for clarity, Olkekun is the name of our project in Naivasha. It's not a place. It's not the name of our location, right? So Olkekun is the name of our project. As you can see from the videos, it's located directly across that art cafe on the highway from Nairobi to Nakuru in Naivasha town. This locale is known as Kayole, right? It's the famous place where the cops always stop people for overspeeding, right? So this is where Olkekun is located, and I mean, as you can tell, it's a settled area. This is not some random bush in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Okay. It's right on a highway that is already slated for dual carriaging. So the influences, the effects of that are obvious. No one has to explain that to anyone, at least not in Kenya. And what that means for property values, accessibility generally means more populations. Wider roads means more people see the area, especially with what's happened across the road from us. Safari Center have built their first location amongst many in Kenya. It has a beautiful art cafe market. I think Galitos is there. Naivas is the anchor tenant. There's a new Shell petrol station right on the highway. You literally cross the road directly, as you can see from the images. If you haven't been to Safari Center, do yourself a huge favor. It's only an hour drive from Nairobi. Drive down the tarmac. You will not need to get on any maram. It's right off the tarmac. We are directly across from there. And as you can see from those aerial images, it's a densely settled area. The prevailing size of plots there is already 50 by 100s.
Yeah.
So it's not as if we had to change the larger block of land that we own. In fact, ours is a 7-acre block of land, was one of the biggest there, right? Even bigger than Safari Center. Safari Center sits on 5 acres.
Yeah.
Ours 7 acres, as you can see. It did not take much to subdivide it to 50 by 100s, because that's the prevailing size of land there, which is very different when you're fragmenting land beyond the normal sizes, like in Kili Point, which we shall touch on later. So these are some of the things that informed our decision about investing here, which we're super excited about because it's extremely prime. These 50 by 100s are starting, I believe, at 7.99 million shillings each, because they were fully serviced. One of the requirements we had to meet for Nakuru County to approve our subdivision is vision of access roads with adequate width. So generally speaking, just for everyone to understand, the more you subdivide land, the wider your access roads have to be, because you're creating more traffic. if that makes sense.
Yes.
If you're chopping a 10-acre block into 50 by 100s, you'll have 72 or thereabouts of them.
Mm.
That means all of a sudden you have 72 people. If they're all driving cars, 72 people have to drive within the 10 acres, as opposed to before when there was only one. So your access roads have to be wider. You have to
Yes.
provide public utility spaces, which we did in Olkekun. There's a beautiful garden and site for waste treatment, site for the borehole. We had to provide allowance for infrastructure like power reticulation, water reticulation. Olkekun will have 2 boreholes, for instance, just to meet the water needs for all the people that will eventually settle and live on this 7-acre block that we have all of a sudden turned into 47 different properties, right?
Yes.
So there are very specific things you have to do to get approvals. Now in Kenya today, sadly, because of corruption and greed, it's possible to get approvals without meeting the requirements that are demanded by law for you to get the approval. So it's very easy today for me to get an approval for subdivision without making allowances for all the infrastructure that is required. But, Grand Acres, Goshen Acquisitions, from day one, we don't do monkey business like that. If we can't do it clean, we will not do it at all, which is again why we made the video in 2016, and is also why we are comfortable doing 50 by 100s now, because the Physical Land Use and Planning Act of 2019 has made very clear stipulations about how you go about it. And I should also point out now, issues of subdivision and user or zoning. User is a technical word that the professional use that means zoning. Zoning has to do with whether you're using it for farming, for living, residential, for commercial activity, for industrial, for factories, whatever it is, that's called user or zoning. So issues of user and subdivision are made exclusively by county governments today. Before, decisions were made by national government within various departments of the Ministry of Lands.
Yes.
But now that is sole preserved. The national government has no say anymore about zoning, subdivision within counties. It's the county planning departments, the county governments that have the legal right to determine what they need, what policies you should follow in order to get the approvals. So just an important distinction there between the earlier video and what's happening today.
Fantastic. Hey, Solo, as always, even as Evan says, big up Solo for the good work. Solo is like a land dictionary. If there was a cabinet secretary for lands in 2027, it will be Solomon Wangwe. Vote for Solomon Wangwe.
No, thank you, man. I'll remain a private citizen.
So this is great conversation, because now the question ringing in my head is, so how do I then know a legitimate place that is selling legitimate eighths? What do I mean by that? It's a thing of and it goes with what Matimu ignites. How do you do due diligence for some plotty? Like if the plot is clean, kama ni safi. That's a question I actually wanted to ask, because we are seeing a lot of prime areas like Nanyuki. Nanyuki is now becoming hot. Malindi is becoming hot. We are seeing a lot of people selling a lot of this land, and it's people selling eighths. Say, for example, like you said, we did an experiment inside Segera, for example, and that's interior. That doesn't make sense in terms of a viable investment in regards of, in my honest, humble 2 cents opinion, in terms of a viable investment for an eighth that is so interior and probably doesn't have the amenities and infrastructure to be able to support that. So what should Matimu, myself, and any other person who is about to finish paying for an eighth somewhere or about to put in some money in an eighth do? What should they look out for? What should they do in regards to due diligence?
Yes. Super question, as always. I will start by saying go to grandacres.co.ke. Do yourself a big favor. And I don't say this facetiously. Go to grandacres.co.ke and find the free downloadable checklist, right? the steps you need to take to invest in land safely in Kenya. We put this together, having done this in Kenya for the last 11 and a half years going on now. We have a lot of experience. We have bought and sold thousands of acres so far. And over that course of time, we have learned a lot. A lot of it has been by discovery, because we hadn't done it before. A lot of it is already stipulated in law that you can do research on. We also have learned a lot from the professionals that we work with. So step number one, download the free checklist from our website, www.grandacres.co.ke, or you can go to goshenacquisitions.com. Same, it'll lead you down to the same place. Second thing, hire yourself a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya. Very important. I know I sound like a broken record when I say this, but you'd be surprised how many people try to do this on their own, which is the biggest mistake you'll ever make, because it's impossible for you to know what to look out for completely unless you went to law school for 4 years, did pupillage, sat the bar exam, worked for a number of years. It takes years. There's a reason these professionals study for as long as they do and get licensed to advise the public on how to navigate business or life within the context of our law in Kenya, right? So do yourself a favor, don't be cheap, stop taking shortcuts, pay the 50K to the lawyer. Some will charge you 100K, depends on the size of your transaction. It doesn't matter, it's negligible. The most expensive it will be, according to the Law Society of Kenya, is 2% of the value of your transaction, plus 16%. Right, 2%. The remuneration order of the Law Society of Kenya determines how much lawyers are supposed to charge for various services. For conveyancing and property transactions, generally it's 2% of the value of the transaction, and you'll add 16% VAT, which goes to KRA, and whatever they pay to make copies, send a clerk to sit on a bench at the Ministry of Lands offices, blah, blah, blah. Very negligible cost. So get yourself a licensed advocate of the High Court of Kenya, not just a lawyer. Ask them for their license for this year, because they have to renew it every year. Okay. Step number 2 is make sure you engage the services of a licensed surveyor as well, because that's a guy mostly who is going to do the work to tell you. For instance, in Kajiado County, which is one of the few counties that's done a good job with this, by the way, they have zoned the entire county for various uses and restrictions on sizes based on your use of the land. So you can easily have your surveyor go to the county offices, buy the maps for zoning, and tell you, okay, hii 50 by 100 inauzwa hapa, haifai kuuzwa hiyo size kwa sababu hii area imezoniwa wakisema agricultural use only, and minimum size is 5 acres or 1 acre or whatever. If it's commercial, these are the zones that you're allowed to do commercial. If it's residential, these are the requirements for residential. Unless you have the time to dig all that stuff up, hire yourself licensed professionals to do the work for you. They'll be a lot more efficient, and then you can make informed decisions about which 50 by 100s are safe to buy. It's that simple, guys. It's not rocket science, but you have to engage professionals to help you.
I get what you're saying, Solo. And what has struck me here is there's someone watching or someone who will watch this after, and you've pumped in money in an eighth in a zone which was probably agricultural, right? And it doesn't make sense, because how will you farm on an eighth?
Honestly, like what kind of farming are you doing on 100? Like I get headaches thinking about this stuff, to be honest. A lot of this is common sense. But people get caught up in the noise that we marketers make, the buzz that we create with media. We have branded it well, and the best thing we in the industry have done is clean title, 50 by 100, because to us the title deed means all is well. Absolutely untrue. I've done videos about this, some of it has caused some people some sleepless nights, but it's a truth, guys.
Yeah.
Just because something has a title deed does not mean it's legit.
Mm.
You need those licensed professionals to help you do your due diligence and flag the problems for you. It's that simple.
It's that simple. It is that simple. If you're joining us for this live, thank you so much. We are discussing 50 by 100s to buy or not to buy. More so in the last bit, we've just discussed where to buy 50 by 100s. If you're being sold 50 by 100s in a zone that's agricultural, doesn't make sense. You will not farm on an eighth. What will you farm? What will you keep? What will you do with that eighth? It needs to make sense. If you're being sold 50 by 100s in a place where you're being told the next person is building a hotel, yours is residential, you'll have a house, another person on the other side will have a farm, that doesn't make sense. You need to audit the whole process and do your due diligence. Grand Acres, grandacres.co.ke is where you'll find it, if I'm not right. grandacres.co.ke rather, is where you'll find the free downloadable checklist. Print it out, put it in your phone, go for that site visit, ask those questions, ask that land seller those questions, and you'll be able to save yourself from any agony, any pain later on for the money that you have put down, that you have really worked hard for, blood, sweat, and tears. Bantu Bear asks, did I hear Solo well that Goshen got some plots in Nakuru or not yet? Well, not really Nakuru. We do have plots in Naivasha, and that's what we've branded All Kekun, right by the road on the Naivasha-Nakuru highway, opposite Safari Center. If you don't know Safari Center, it's opposite Art Cafe, opposite Naivas. Yani, exactly opposite, the other side. Hiyo pande ingine. That's where those plots. Imeshika lami. Let's use those buzzwords. Imeshika lami. That road will be dualed. It's already been approved to be dualed. And so big things will be happening in that area. And you sure do want to be able to grab yourself one of those plots. Mixed use development, commercial at the front will have mid density and low density also for residential. And so please, tafadhali, book yourself a site visit with us on our WhatsApp 0700010001 if you want to be able to go and check them out. Bantu Bear will be waiting for you and anybody else. So Solo, let's discuss this pricing thing for 50 by 100s, which I think for me is another way to be able to gauge if there are people who are serious about the 50 by 100. So the first thing that attracts people is the pricing. We have discussed how many amenities go into this 50 by 100s. And then we find that with all those amenities, with all the things that the law dictates for us to have in 50 by 100s, still the price point is low. Is this right? Does this have different dependencies on them? What do people need to audit when it comes to the price as well?
Yeah, I mean, pricing in very many respects in Kenya is a very subjective thing. You know, it's not as clean and scientific as it might be in the West, where you have rationalized development. You know, in the West, for instance, before you subdivide any piece of land, you need to check with the governing authorities, the local authorities, on what their future plans are for that area. And very often they'll tell you, no, you want to do 50 by 100s here, we won't let you, because that area has been earmarked for future expansion of commercial activity or whatever. You know, in Kenya, that is not as clear cut. So therefore, issues of valuation are very speculative. And for the most part are determined by the market. And by that, I mean what people are paying or willing to pay now. You know, for instance, we had a project we did in Nanyuki years ago. I think it was about 2015. Around 2014, 2015. We subdivided half acres. And one of our buyers was getting financed by an institution. So they sent value there. We were selling these half acres for, I think it was about 750K for a whole half acre, which I thought was a good price. It's not that's 450 by 100s.
Yes.
for 750K. Right? I think 750 by 100 is the new standard unit of measurement in Kenya for everything. You go to supermarket, say I want a cake, it must be 50 by 100 in size. So we we sold these half acres for 750K. This buyers lender sent their own valuer, which is normal. Banks have their own panel of various specialists that they use to do due diligence before they risk their money lending to you. Normal. The valuation report, which was based on a very scientific approach, I think came in at 320K. And so the buyer came back and said, hey, man, this valuation is low, man. Like, your thing is overpriced. I was like, okay, I can see how you can say that based on the valuation report that you have. But please send these to your bank. These documents, we provide the documents. Send these documents to your bank and to your valuation person and show them that we have sold nearly 50 plots, 60 plots at that price. And some had been sold a year prior. So my question to them was then, the market is exchanging at this price. Your scientific approach is stating a different price. So for me, at the end of the day, valuation has to be based on what people are willing to buy and sell for now. The market determines the price. Kenya operates on a free market economy basis, which means the market decides. We're not socialist, we're not communist, we have no price controls on land. I know a lot of people call for that because they feel like they have been priced out of land in their own country, but this is a reality with free market dynamics. Suck it up, do what you need to do to get yours today, because unless something divine happens, today is the cheapest land is never going to be in Kenya, right? So, issues of valuation, very subjective in that sense. Now, beyond that, you need to look at what amenities they're providing you. Is the road mchanga? Does it have maram? Because if it's mchanga rains, I can't use the road. If it's marammed, I can use it when it rains, which is better. But if it has tarmac or cabro, that's the best, because that has intrinsic value. Is there drainage? Is there power supply to my plot? Is there water supply to my plot? What's the security like? Is there a perimeter fence? Is there a gatehouse? Is landscaping done? Are there other public amenities like a garden area for my kids to play safely? Is there something else about the property that makes it conducive for communal living? Because at the end of the day, what we do at Goshen Acquisitions and Grand Acres is create communities of people. And so to what extent have things been put in place to allow that community to use the land now versus later? Now, if I'm going to sell you something and tell you it's going to be usable later, that's fine. That's fine. That's a decision for you to make. Do I want to invest it now to use later? And what criteria will I use around infrastructure? And that very quickly tell you what the pricing should be. And I'll use a simple example. Miga is a nice one to use, or Tatu City. People have seen what's happened there. I think last time I was in Miga, they were selling 50 by 100s for between 18 and 23 or 25 million shillings. 25 million bobs. Do you know how much land I can buy for 25 million shillings in southern Kajiado County? I mean, that's a lot. But why is it that expensive? Because those guys had to provide tarmac roads, drainage, waste treatment plants, power reticulation, landscape. They have to water the golf course, blah, blah, blah. All those things are very costly. In the past, back in the day, these used to be done by the government authorities, like in the 80s, 70s, and so on. Unfortunately, because of the broken system that we now have to live under, those amenities have to be provided by private developers, not the government authorities. And that private developer has to recover the cost of infrastructure when they sell you the piece of land. So if someone's going to sell you a 50 by 100 for 120K, or 300K, you need to ask yourself what it's coming with. versus Olkekun, which starting at 7.99 million. What is coming with that 50 by 100 that's making it cost that much, as opposed to buying a 50 by 100 Uko in the middle of nowhere in Naivasha, still in Naivasha, for 200K or whatever price people are fond of marketing. So, I think common sense would prevail at the end of the day, and even doubt, ask the experts to help you.
Fantastic. I love that story for pricing, because it brings us to Matimu's question in regards to accepting micropayments. And this will allow us, Matimu, not just to answer your question, but to answer it in a way we're already doing it. And this brings a conversation in regards to Kili Point. We are currently pre-selling Kili Point, which is along the Imali Oloitoktok Road. And these are also 50 by 100, if I'm not wrong, yes, and going for 499K. And they have a payment plan. So I'll allow Zolo just to speak a bit about that and also go into the payment plan for anyone who would be interested. So let's talk about this location. Looks nice, right by the foot of a hill. Inashika lami, imeshika lami kushika. Right after the Kenha Beacon, we commence. Our land starts right there. Let's talk about this location and why we chose it, what's in it, and also just to also add Matimu's question to answer it in regards to micropayments.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Kili Point is, again, a response to requests from valued customers, because, as much as possible, we want to make land ownership in Kenya as affordable as is possible. Of course we do. And this is one of the biggest motivations for land developers like ourselves, or land sellers, to chop land into 50 by 100s. One of the main reasons or goals is to bring down the cost, so that as many people as possible can own land. Owning land is important for many, many reasons. But to summarize, I often tell people, one of the most patriotic things you can do as a Kenyan is own a piece of your own country. It's that simple.
Preach.
We can talk about other reasons, investment. In our culture, for example, in Western Kenya, you need land to be buried in. You can't be buried on someone else's land. So very often I've seen people pass and families have to scramble to buy land to bury them, because they're not allowed to be buried on someone else's land because of cultural issues, taboo issues. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons for land ownership. So this project was a response to that request from a lot of our customers. Now, Southern Kajiado happens to be one of the most affordable places to buy land, especially if you're buying in bulk, right? The price of land in this part of the country is very different from the price of land in Naivasha along the highway. Even though ours here is still touching the highway, the main Oloitoktok Mali highway, we have proper road frontage, as Georgie has just said. Our land commences from the Kenha Beacon. The price is still very different as from a base, because this is a far less densely populated area. There's not as much competition for space out here as there is in Naivasha or Kitengela, as an example. So the base value of land will already be lower. Okay. Beyond that, it's located just 15 kilometers from Emali town, right on Mombasa Highway. It's also located about 2 kilometers from Duka Moja, which is a very fast-growing township, I would call it, or trading center. A lot of people have settled near the Simba Cement plant, which is about 32 kilometers further down from us. And they've been asked to leave by NEMA because of the dust pollution issues that they have down there. So a lot of people have rushed up to Dukamoja, which has suddenly put pressure on land prices. In fact, I encourage people to go down whenever you're free. Ask around at Dukamoja. Most of the land sellers who have 50 by 100s there are selling them for 900K, 800K. Ours are at 499K. In fact, technically speaking, we have underpriced because we're going to be providing some basic amenities like access roads, all-weather maram, perimeter fence, a gate for security, We have power along the highway already, as you can see from the images. We also have water from Mount Kilimanjaro just down from our property. So the basic amenities are available. It's why we picked this site, as opposed to one that might be 9 or 10 kilometers interior, which will be a lot costlier to create access to and provide utilities to. So these are some of the things that go into deciding where to invest in land, where we feel our customers might like to invest in. And I will point out, unlike Olkekun, as you can see, even though we provide all the basic amenities you will need to settle immediately if you'd like, may not be as settleable as Olkekun, which is already in a settled area. I mean, these are common sense matters that people can see for themselves when you do a site visit. Again, why we recommend you always do a site visit. I met a gentleman, really cool guy, 2 days ago. We were looking at a site in Naivasha. He's a slightly older gentleman than myself. And he said something interesting, that anytime he looks at a piece of land, he will never buy it unless he's taken off his shoes and felt the dirt and the stones on his on the soles of his feet. Yes, a very proud Kikuyu gentleman who said, I think he got that from his forefathers, that you have to interact with the soil, with the land, feel it, touch it, smell it, see what the vibe is like. I love that aspect of land investment. Sometimes I do that myself. I've taken my shoes off and walked on a piece of land just to feel the earth under me. And there's other scientific reasons behind that you can Google. It's called grounding. A very healthy thing to do, which is why people in shags who don't wear shoes are generally healthier than those of us who wear nice, expensive shoes in urban areas. But these are important things that we always take into consideration. Now, as far as payment plans, we're offering 5-month installments. Just to make it easier for our customers to engage. I know we have pre-sold quite a few plots already. And when we say pre-sold, we mean we have sold plots of land within a piece of land we already own. We are not agents, are not brokers. We only sell what we own. If you look at the title deed or do a search or in your DD, you will find that the government reports to you that we are duly registered as owners of that piece of land. First of all, now we're subdividing, but before we subdivide, a lot of our customers like to book early, and that's why we use the term pre-selling, because the title deeds are not out. And anytime we do that, we have your funds sitting in an escrow account with a law firm. You do not pay us directly. We only get access to the funds after we have title deeds ready that are transferable for your name to be registered. Very important thing that we are always talking about. And if you haven't seen any of our content around that, please feel free to explore our YouTube page, Own Land in Kenya. Google Goshen Acquisitions, or even Google my name. I'm sure you'll find a lot of content there. And do your stuff right.
Awesome, Solo. I'm seeing time has really bounced. Like, we've already done an hour already. And for anyone joining us, thank you so much. We see you, Josie Solomon. What up? All the way from the US of A.
Oh, is that Jojo?
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Jojo. What's good? That's part of the Goshen family checking in on us. And she says best way to buy land is grounding and connecting, for sure. If you're just joining us and if you've been watching, we're here primarily to give you information, to give you that unfair advantage as you go out into the marketplace, for you to invest safely, for you to invest in savvy investments, and also for you to be able to have strategic investments. That's why we are here. That's why we're giving you this information for free. And if you want to go buy from someone else, no problemo. If you want to buy from us, always hit us up. Feel free, 0700010001 on WhatsApp, or you can give us a buzz on the celly, and we'll be able to cater to you and to cater to the needs that you do have. So thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I think last question we will be able to slot in is maybe Matimu Ignatius. But before we do that, Solo, just quickly, we've talked about these Kenha beacons. We've talked about land that is touching the road. Yani ile inashika barabara, inashika lami. That's how people sell. Imeshika lami kabisa. Imeshika lami
barabara ya
kabisa.
mara mama mchanga ni lami.
So what's the, someone said you're a plotipedia. I think it's Matimu who said you're plotipedia. And Solomon is the plotipedia. So let's ask plotipedia, what are the laws that govern, such, just from a macro level? We'll go into this maybe another live, but from a macro level, what should people look out for anybody who sells to them and markets to them land that inashika lami, imeshika lami kabisa? What should people look out for when they go to see that land?
Yes, that's a great question. Actually, I think the first thing you need to look out for is that the land has not encroached on Kenha road reserve. Every major road in this country has a reserve already demarcated for it. It may not be obvious on the ground because maybe the Kenha beacons have not been installed, or they're missing, or they've been vandalized over the years. And this is why it's really important that you engage the services of a licensed surveyor. Anytime you're in doubt, get a surveyor to go check out the piece of land, point out the beacons. The land seller must point out the boundaries to you for your surveyor to confirm its dimensions, its size, its acreage, its area, and whether or not it has encroached on any reserves along the highway. The same is true when you're buying water frontage, like our amazing property on the frontage of Lake Elementaita. Always make sure that there's no encroachment on public land, road reserves, riparian land, and the likes. The other thing you want to make sure to do whenever a gate entry has been created, because obviously you have to get off of the highway into the property somehow, right? These are small, subtle things I look out for. Is there a culvert at the turnoff? Meaning when it rains, where is the water passing? Is it going to sit there and create a pool or a puddle of mud that gets my car stuck every time I get off of the tarmac? If that has been done and there's no culvert, that's poor development, and strictly speaking, should not have happened in the first place. If anytime you're creating access onto a major highway in Kenya, you have to do traffic surveys. A lot of people don't know this, and to be honest, even I didn't know this until we did our Okekun project, which touches the Naivasha highway. You have to get approval after you do traffic surveys to measure the amount of traffic that's traversing across the road along your property. If you want to create an entry point, you have to submit your designs for that entry or exit point, if there's an on-ramp or an off-ramp, and make sure that you have Kenha approvals. Otherwise, you may have created legal access to your property off of the main highway. So very important things to look out for, presuming that has already been done. If it hasn't been done, like in our case, Hilly Point, because we're pre-selling, be sure to ask your land seller and follow up. Ask. Make sure that when the gate has been done, that there is the culvert, and you can ask for the documentation that supports that has been done procedurally. Otherwise, you have a situation in the future where Kenha says, we're expanding this road, we're making it dual carriage, angusha fence, remove it, and we have seen that happen so many times in Kenya. It's not anything new for us. So just do your homework and work with licensed professionals and reputable companies such as Goshen Acquisitions and Grand Acres.
Yes.
I had to plug us.
A shameless plug-in. That's why we're here, to be able to let you guys know how to do it right and how to ensure that you're investing in the right way as well. Matimo Igniters asked, how do you avoid double booking payment for the same land? Matimo, allow us to be able to answer this question in the next live, or we'll be able reach out to us on 0700010001 on WhatsApp. Ask this question, and we will personally be able to answer that question. That goes for anybody else who has a question for us and we've not been able to tackle it in this live. We'll collate all these questions, answer them in WhatsApp, as well as come and answer them in a live. We'll definitely have a Q&A session where we'll ask you guys to pre-send your questions as well for us to cater to them and to answer them. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Solomon Wangwe, is our founder, CEO, Managing Director, Grand Acres and Goshen Acquisitions Limited, George Kagwe.
Chief Kazi Mkono, don't forget.
Chief Kazi Mkono. And me, I'm the Chief Kazi Mkono for digital marketing. But do I say? And it is fantastic just to join you guys. My name is George Kagwe. It has been a fantastic time. We can't thank you enough for joining us. Whether you joined us from LinkedIn, from YouTube, from Facebook, we want to thank you.
Thank you, Ahadi Group. We see you. Just to reiterate, Georgie, because I know it might pass some people. We're gonna do this every Thursday for the foreseeable future. And so if you have any questions you'd like us to address, what I would like to do so that you can hear from the professionals I keep advising that you get in touch with, we will have them here with us. You can ask questions of licensed surveyors, licensed planners, and on occasion we'll even have county officials, as long as they allow us the privilege to have them address you specifically, so that you can hear from these authorities and these licensed professionals. We don't make up stuff out of thin air. This is based off of 11 and a half years of practical experience, buying and selling thousands of acres of land, and we've never conned anyone. We have never bribed for anything. I'm grateful that I can say that with a clear conscience on record. And so the point is to just empower you guys, help you make wise decisions about your investing. Whether or not you're buying from us, this is our passion. We have a responsibility to ourselves, to our industry, to our country, and to you, our brothers and sisters, to make sure that you're buying land in Kenya, which you should, but doing it safely.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Solo. Anburu, we've seen your comment. Remember, this is a live recording, so you can be able to also watch it after if it's too early for you. I don't know where you're tuning in from, Anne, but we'll be able to see how we can be able to cater to your needs and your questions. Again, please reach out to us on WhatsApp, 0700010001. Ask your questions, get to know what properties we have. We are also on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Download the free downloadable checklist. Print it, laminate it, put it in your phone, go with it everywhere that you're buying land, not necessarily from us. Tell them, mulitumwa na Grand Acres na checklist, and this is what we are looking for. Please do it, and you'll be able to have strategic, savvy, and safe land investments. From us, it's adios, muchachos, as Abel Mutua likes to say, and Sauti Soul will sing us out. Goodbye.
Hapa nilikuja bila kitu na sitoki bila kitu, mwanangu azaliwe na kakitu, usitoke bila kitu. Aye, kila siku naishi kama sina kitu, mwishowe miliwe na kakitu, akisitoke bila kitu. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope in you. And I could be anywhere in the world, but home is where I'm with you. I wanna be home with you, I'm putting all my hope